Hi guys, it's Karl here. So if you have been following my work for a while or you've been subscribed to the channel for a while, I'm really sorry I haven't put content out. To be honest with you, life changed for me back in January when my son was born, and it really meant that I had to prioritize my time and focus on more important things. Unfortunately, YouTube wasn't one of those things, but hopefully I have a little bit more time now. I can get back on track and start putting out more content. For those who don't know me, my name is Karl Melvin and I'm a clinical psychotherapist based in Dublin, and I specialise in family estrangement, which means that I work with adults of all different ages and backgrounds and perspectives to really make sense of their family dynamic, their family history and how it led to an estrangement, but then help them manage all the different difficulties and challenges that come with estrangement. And there are many, because it's not an isolated event that just affects two people. It has this ability to contaminate many aspects of life and many facets of life, and that has been my work now for quite a long time. I have a master's degree in counselling and psychotherapy, and my dissertation for my master's is entitled The Experiences of Family Estrangement. I have one academic which has been peer reviewed and published in the Family Journal, and I'm currently editing my first book on family estrangement. Now, the reason I say all of that is to emphasise just how passionate I am, both personally and professionally, in family estrangement, in trying to understand it, in trying to relay that understanding to others so we can start to broaden society's understanding of estrangement, why it happens, who it happens to, but also how difficult it is. And it is very, very difficult, and I keep emphasising this. It's difficult in different ways. Not everybody is affected in the same way, and there's many factors which influence how it affects people. But nonetheless, my role in all of this is try to educate and really support those who are struggling with it, and support them in a very practical way, not just with facts, not just with information, but with strategies as well, what they can actually do going forward to manage their emotions, manage the social impact with their wider external factors, the people in their life who they're not estranged from, who may be insisting on reconciliation, or managing the difficulties of trying to explain to an estrangement to other people. But they also help people with the relational challenges, maintaining closeness and a healthy relationship with those in your life who you're not estranged from. So as part of my work, I'm delighted to announce I'm launching my first live workshop, which is the first time I've done anything live in quite a long time. And the workshop is called Mapping Your Estrangement. And it's a Zoom workshop. It's going to be on the 14th of November at 8 p.m. GMT, which is Irish time. If you go down to the description below, you get a link to the event. You can click in, get more details and get your ticket. Now, just the reason I'm picking a Sunday evening at 8 p.m. is to try and accommodate as many people across the globe and all the different time zones that I know people will be in when they sign up, because I've been working with people for so long in the US and in Europe and Australia. It's hard to find a time that accommodates everybody, but I went with this time, and hopefully it does make it easier for people. Now, just to be clear, the workshop will be recorded, so if you sign up, you'll get the recording. So if you can't make that day or that time, that's fine, you'll still get the recording. Now, the next question might be, what exactly does mapping out estrangement mean? And really, this goes back to my research when I was doing my dissertation, and I wanted to create an overview of the estrangement dynamic of the participants in the research, so the peer review academic board, they could make sense of it quickly, and they could revert back to this whenever they were going through the details of the estrangement. So they just had a quick overview that they keep leaning back on, and just have a bit more clarity around what they were reading. And what I found then later on as a therapist, and I was working with my clients, a lot of the clients would come in and very quickly start to jump into a lot of detail, discussing specific events and specific people that were causing them distress, that they were struggling with. And it's understandable, because these are emotionally charged moments in time and emotionally charged relationships, which are a great source of difficulty over a long extended period of time. So it was natural that that's what people would jump into quite quickly. But what I struggled with was actually get a clear overview of all the aspects of the estrangement. For example, how many people were involved, the types of estrangement that existed within the family. And often it is more than one. It could be people may emphasise one particular person, but there's often secondary losses, often there's collateral damage with an estrangement. In the same way that not every estrangement is the same, and there may be more distance from one people than others. I need to understand the dynamic in terms of, was it chosen or was it forced? So is the estrangement voluntary or involuntary? Because that's really important information. I struggle to find out the status of the estrangement, in the sense that, did everybody know that they were estranged? Was it obvious or was it silent, unspoken amongst the family? But then maybe one of the most difficult things to determine was the core reason or reasons behind an estrangement. And it's not always obvious from the start. So in an attempt to break this down and get this information, I reverted back to my research and I used that overview to try to create a bit of a model just for me to break down an estrangement into 6 steps or 6 processes to map out each person's estrangement. And once I'd done that, created that overview for me, I had a little bit more insight into what they're going through, the number of losses that they were dealing with, and the complexity of the dynamic that exists within their family. And bear in mind, like, estrangements are really, really complex, much more than we can verbalize. So I found with creating this map, I can introduce them to language and terminology which can be applicable to their estrangement, which meant they may be able to relate a little bit more, communicate it a little bit more. But the main reason that the map was to help me help them in a targeted way, in a way which is specific to their situation, their struggles, and how I can help them best. But I never thought to introduce this model to anybody else. I never thought this is something that people would be interested in. And it wasn't until I started to share with some of my colleagues in the estrangement community, and I thought the feedback was positive. I thought maybe this is something that might help people. So for the first time, I'm going to present this model. Now, this is a workshop. What that means is that I don't want it just to be me talking for 2 hours. I want it to be as interactive as possible. So I'm going to ask you to work with me, and we're going to try and create your map as we go along the process. So I'm going to break down each step. I'm going to explain what they mean, and we're going to give you a couple of minutes after each step to just jot it out, write it out. Not in any great detail. You don't have to get it right. It doesn't have to be perfect first time. It's not about that. It's just about increasing your reflective process, adding more layers to your understanding of it. And again, it's recorded, so you can go back to it later on and revert back and maybe pick up more detail, pick up an aspect to it, add it to your map. And at the end of it, I would like you to have just some visual representation of your estrangement, of the components of it that make it up. And from that, you may decide to act a bit differently. You might make different choices. At minimum, I would hope that you, again, have a better oversight and a better understanding of how this has affected you, how it's still affecting you. Because that gets lost. People get caught up in survival mode so much, managing the impact, psychological, social, relational, that they lose touch with this has deeply affected them. This is what they've lost. This is what they're dealing with. And again, I hope this map can help with determining. So there's been a few questions in since I launched the event. The first one is I can't make the event. I can't make that time, that day. As I said, no problem. It's recorded and the recording will be sent out. And bear in mind that the recording isn't just for people who can't make it. If you're going to be there live, the recording might help you, because I know for me, I have to listen to things 2 or 3 times before I absorb it. So the recording might help you to go back, re-listen to certain things, and just so we constantly get more information and maybe start to apply it to your own situation. I'm also going to give out a small workbook as well for people to review. So this will have some of my notes and it'll actually show you the map clearly, so you can actually write this out yourself or write out your own map as we go through the workshop. Another question is it just for estranged people? And this came from a psychologist who works with families who are dealing with difficulty. So even though when I was writing the content, I was thinking about estranged people, it is open to others as well. So if you're a professional, whether it's psychologist, psychotherapist, social worker, mental health worker, if you're working with family difficulties, the model that I'm presenting might help you. So absolutely, you're welcome to this event. And then the next one is, will there be more workshops? Yes, there will be more workshops. Christmas is creeping up. Let's face it, Christmas is very difficult for a lot of people. It was very difficult for me for a long time. Thankfully, not so much now, but I get how hard it is for people. So I'm thinking of doing something mid-December, something practical. We look at self-care over Christmas. We also might look at meeting up with estranged family members over Christmas, because that isn't a realistic scenario for a lot of people. Their estrangement sits more on the emotional end, which means that there could still be regular contact, and there may be a very difficult meetup over Christmas, and do I send presents, and do I discuss or try to reconcile? There's a lot of difficulties in managing that potential visit, so that's probably going to happen next. So with that said, I really hope to see you at the event. I'd love to see you there. There will be QAs throughout it, so if you have questions for me, please ask them. and I'm going to do my best to help you. I don't have all the answers, but I'm really committed to trying helping. So as I said, link down below in the description. Please sign up. Please share it if there's someone that you might know that might benefit from it. And that's it. I'll talk to you soon, and take care.